Whether you enjoyed the show or not, there's no denying that Seinfeld was one of the most groundbreaking TV shows of all time. Seinfeld reimagined how TV comedies ought to look and sound and be written. Seinfeld is easily the most popular TV show to ever air. And in fact, right now it is the most popular TV show in syndication. And 22 years after its last show aired, it is still on TVs all over the place. You can find Seinfeld just about any time you want to. Seinfeld is one of those TV shows that people look back on and say everything changed with that show. Interestingly, I saw an interview with Jerry one time, and they asked him, how did you do that? How did you come up with something so innovative and so different and so weird and so... How did you change the way TV was made? And he looked at the guy and said, I don't know, we didn't. He said, we had no idea that that's what we were doing. All we were trying to do was survive. All we knew is we had to make another show for next week, and we were just trying to come up with things for next week. We had no bigger plan. All we were trying to do is survive till next week. I think that's an interesting comment. As I've read biographies and autobiographies of people who have changed the world, that's actually a common thread that goes throughout. They weren't out to make a name for themselves. They weren't out to do something grand. They were just out to be useful. They were just out trying to discover something that they were interested in. They were just out doing something that they loved. I remember a quote from Albert Einstein one time. He said, don't try to be successful, try to be useful. I like that thought, the idea that instead of trying to aim at these big goals, just do something you can do right now. Do something you enjoy right now. Do something to help someone right now. I like that because I hang out with lots of preachers, and preachers are terrible for wanting to make a big impact, and they want to make a name for themselves. And guys say things like, I want to leverage my gifts for the Lord. And I know what they're saying. I understand what they're trying to say, but sometimes it comes off as being self-serving. Sometimes it's more that they want to make a name for themselves and have people look up to them rather than just do whatever there is to do today. And yet doing what we're asked to do today is the way to have an impact and to make a difference. Jesus pointed this out in a couple of places, one of which would be Matthew chapter 21, when talking to some guys who thought they needed a position before they could do something good. Jesus says this, you know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. He says, the way the world works is that you get a position and power and you lord it over people and you make a name for yourself and make others serve you. That's how the world works. But he says, not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must become your slave. Just as the Son of Man, just as Jesus, did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life a ransom for many. Jesus says, I didn't even come to have people serve me. I came to be served. I didn't come to make a big name for myself. I came to do what I was asked to do. In fact, earlier in that chapter, Jesus reminds them that the last will be first, and the first will be last. If you want to have an impact, find a way to serve somebody. If you want to have influence, find something good to do. Make something better where you are, even in small little bits, because those small little bits then add up. The Apostle Paul one time told the Corinthian church, he said this in chapter 10 of 1 Corinthians, verse 24, he said, nobody should seek his own good. Isn't that interesting? Nobody should seek his own good, but the good of others. We would be much better off if we forgot about trying to build big churches and build big names for ourselves and get honors and glory from people. Those things are nice if they happen, but really that isn't our goal. Our goal is to find someone to serve each and every day. Our goal is to do something good each and every day. And when we do that, then we will have an impact. We will be leveraging our gifts, and people will honor not only us, but the God in whose name we do those things. Brothers and sisters, can you go out and be a servant today? Because he who chooses to be last is first in the eyes of God.